Friday from the head of the Greek Banking Association that there was only enough liquidity or cash left in the system until Monday, that beyond that it was down to the European Central Bank. Whereas Mr. Varoufakis has insisted that whichever way this referendum goes, the banks will reopen on Tuesday morning. So I started by asking him how people could trust him on that when, as I say, his own banks insist they are running out of cash. Minister, why should people believe you that the banks are going to reopen on Tuesday when your own banks are saying they're running out of money?
You are spoiling the celebration of democracy with impertinent questions.
It's a serious situation. A lot of people don't see this as a celebration, Minister. Can you give your word the banks will reopen on Tuesday? Well, as you heard there, he was silent then. I asked him a second time whether he would give his words on his previous statement that the banks would reopen, and he said nothing. His security people pushed us out of the way. I should warn you that there is more flash photography coming up now. We've also seen this morning the Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras voting in Athens. He is very much front and centre of the No campaign. He has staked his political reputation and arguably the future of this country on it. And he is casting this now as a national struggle. He is insisting that by voting no today, people are merely saying no to creditors' proposals for more austerity, that they are voting for dignity, for justice. There is confusion as to what the question is asking and what either of the results would actually mean.
Well, Sky's economics editor Ed Conway is in Athens at the Greek Mint. A very good afternoon to you, Ed. With people going to the polls, how significant is this referendum to the Greek people and also Greece's position in Europe?
Well, it's deeply significant. This is perhaps one of the most significant moments that we've seen for the fate of the European Union and indeed of the euro. Now, you may well ask, why am I standing on this slightly kind of nondescript street somewhere in Athens? We're in Holagas, which is a part of the kind of northern suburbs of the city, and this nondescript building.
On this edition for Saturday, July 4th, Greece on the edge as voters prepare to choose either spending cuts and higher taxes or possible ejection from the Eurozone. In Vienna, negotiators may be closer than ever to making a deal with Iran over its nuclear program. And in our signature segment, from Main Street, Delano, California, a historic drought has farmers desperate for water.
Mary mortgaged her home, plunked down almost $200,000 to drill a well. It saved her farm.
Next on PBS NewsHour Weekend.
From the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center in New York, this is PBS NewsHour Weekend.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Hari Srinivasan. We begin in Greece, where the results of a nationwide vote tomorrow could keep the debt-ridden economy afloat or cut off desperately needed financial support from its European creditors. Voters from both camps have been holding massive rallies. If Greeks vote no to adopting a set of severe austerity measures, the country could lose any chance of getting financial help. If Greeks vote yes to the cuts, the country could get some debt relief. The referendum comes after Greece failed to pay a 1.6 billion euro debt payment, shuttered its banks, and started rationing cash. Today, Greece's finance minister accused creditors of trying to terrorize citizens by, quote, instilling fear in people so they will approve the tough austerity measures. Earlier, I spoke with NewsHour special correspondent Malcolm Braven about the mood of the people on the eve of this historic vote. You've been reporting on this for the past several weeks for us and other places. You've been talking to people on the street. The polls say that this vote is incredibly close. What's the feeling that you get on the street?
It's impossible to tell which way this vote is going to go because it's a hugely difficult and complex vote for people to make. The question on the ballot paper is something that will probably baffle economics students. So for ordinary people living out of the country, miles from Athens, it's a very difficult choice. But basically, it distills down to whether or not you want to vote for more of the same, which is increased austerity, which may be even more severe than has been going on for the past 5 years, or something that is a step into the unknown, because nobody really knows what is going to happen if the country votes no. The government here is basically saying that they're going to be able to have a better terms possibly with the creditors. But that's something that really is undecided. And so this is the most difficult question in Greece's modern history.
It's been about a week now since the banks have been closed, since money's been rationed. What are the impacts that you see? Are there shortages of goods in stores now due to import restrictions?
No, we're not seeing shortages yet, but that's certainly something that people are talking about in the future. And there are concerns that people just won't get the goods that they want to. The problem is that everybody now wants cash, and because cash is in short supply. And so suppliers aren't giving materials to shops without getting cash. And customers are reluctant to part with their cash. And so the actual liquidity of the whole country is shrinking. And that makes it really difficult for the societies to survive. And the ironic thing is what the creditors really wanted to have is a sort of a modern society.
Well, a letter that escapee Richard Matt reportedly wrote to his daughter just before he broke out of prison says quite a lot in hindsight. He wrote, quote, "I always promised you I would see you on the outside. I am a man of my word." Well, what we do know is that his daughter reported that to authorities and that she says she knew nothing about his escape. But he did escape, and as we know, he has not seen his daughter since then. Police shot and killed Matt and later captured his fellow fugitive, David Sweat. But there are questions about why prison officials didn't see that letter before Matt mailed it, and if they could have seen it, would it have made a difference? Well, we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more with Robin Miller. She is a former New York City corrections officer from Rikers Island. She just penned a book titled Sex, Drugs, Thugs, The